Hello and welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone had a really nice start to 2026. Today I'm just going to be talking about some books that I've bought recently, books that I've read recently, and some books I want to read for 2026. I did buy a couple of books last year, mostly for the book club I was in, but since I moved back to my hometown I haven't been going to book club. One day the weather was really nice and I wanted to leave the house, so I went to a bookshop and did some damage. Firstly, I picked up Rabbit Run by John Updike. Thought the blurb was pretty interesting. So it's a classic story of dissatisfaction and restlessness. Harry Rabbit Angstrom was a star basketball player in high school. Now 26, his life seems full of traps, the biggest being his pregnant wife and 2-year-old son. He sets out to escape, but it is not clear if Rabbit is really following his heart or only chasing his tail. I think being 26 and being at a pivotal point in my life where I decided to basically start from scratch, this might come in handy, might teach me a bit, might make me cry. Who knows? I haven't read it yet. Next up was The Hounding, and it's basically about these 5 sisters who people see turning into dogs, essentially. I do wish there was more about the girls' history and their familial dog ancestry. You know, you wouldn't think I read as much as I do with how I talk about books, but this one was fine. It was okay. I really, would have liked more about how the girls turned, where it all started, sort of the history of that kind of thing. But I also think it was obviously a choice by the author to keep you on the outside like the villagers in the story. So it was a good choice story-wise, but I'm nosy and I want to know everything, which is why I really liked reading Carmilla for that purpose. That book went into the history of where the vampirism started and how it spread into this little town, and I think it would have been good if this book had also done that. But again, I think that's just personal preference. It was very open-ended as well, which I also wasn't that keen on. And then I also bought Heap Earth Upon It by Chloe Michelle Howarth. I ran into trouble last time I spoke about her because of her last name. We read Sunburn, which is her first book, which I will be talking about as well. But we read that in book club earlier last year, and I suggested it, and it also got picked. I love that book so much, and I'll get into that. But while I was in the bookstore, I saw the name, and I was like, I know that name. That's another book that I really like. So I haven't read this yet, and a friend of mine has, and she says it's very different to Sunburn. Different's fine. Hopefully it's still good. I think I related a lot to Sunburn for a lot of reasons. I don't know how much I'm going to relate to this, but it seems like there's a lot of maybe sibling dynamics in this one. But I'll read the blurb for this too. Oh, yeah, the first sentence is literally a creeping story of sibling rivalry and dangerous obsession. So, January 1965, the orphaned Alighieri siblings, Tom, Jack, Anna, and Peggy, arrive in the village of Ballycrea, tight-lipped about their troubled past and desperate for a fresh start. After being met with suspicion from most of the locals, the family are thrilled when they are taken under the wing of their well-respected neighbours Bill and Betty Nevin, who offer them work, companionship, and an opportunity to fit in. But for one of the Alighieri's, this new friendship sparks an intense attachment that makes the dynamic dangerous for all. It's difficult to bury secrets, but almost impossible to bury feelings. Which tells me it's another gay book, which sounds good to me, and it's been described by a different author as a slow burn, which would be nice. How many pages is this? It's not even 300 pages, I don't think. No, it's not. Just short of 300 pages. Hopefully quick but good read. Again, the only one I've read of the books that I've bought recently was The Hounding. So they're the books that I've bought recently. I think I forgot to get a book. Give me a second. Come here. Up, up. So before I bought those books, I did start reading, and I think I had this in a vlog, I did start reading the Eddie Guerrero autobiography, whatever it is. And I'm just shy of 100 pages of finishing it. And it's very similar to the Mankind biography as well, where it's very repetitive and it can be quite simple at times, but it still makes me laugh, and I have cried already. And I'm pretty sure it was at least finished when Eddie Guerrero was still alive, but the front has a thing from Vince McMahon about, in memory of Eddie Guerrero. So I'm not sure what the timeline is between him writing this and his death. Just about his life and wrestling and his addictions and stuff. He talks a lot about God, which I'm not really into, but he talks about it in a way that's not like judgy or like talking down to people that don't believe in it, I guess. Yeah, and there's a lot about his family and his wife, just about his career and stuff, which is kind of cool to read about because I used to watch a lot of Attitude Era wrestling, but I obviously didn't know a lot about Eddie Guerrero as a person, aside from when he died. The only thing I can caution in this is that this book came out before the Chris Benoit situation. He does praise Chris a lot and talk about Chris. So if that's something that you want to avoid, I probably wouldn't pick this up. Otherwise, I don't know, it's just nice, like, getting to learn his story outside of his death, because that's all I sort of really knew before that. Keen to finish this one, and then I'll probably move on to He Birth Upon It, because my friend wants to talk about it with someone. And yeah, I want a gas bag. As far as other books I've read this year, I think I'll start off with the 1-star reads and then go to the 5 stars. So for 1 star, I had Fun Home by Alison Bechdel. I have spoken about this book before. I don't like it. I feel like there were a lot of things that were brushed over that should have been addressed a bit more. It's very serious things about her father. I also don't usually read graphic novels unless they're horror, so I'm not really used to reading graphic novels, I guess. Just wasn't my cup of tea, but I think the last time I spoke about it, I mentioned that when we talked about it at book club, a lot of people were talking about subtleties in the drawings and facial expressions and everything of the characters, which I just didn't pick up on. I was basically just reading the words and glancing over the images instead of trying to like dissect them. Maybe that's something I'll get better at in 2026, is reading graphic novels that aren't horror. Another 1-star read, which was also a book club pick, was Stag Dance by Torrey. Like, it was obviously meant to be shocking, but it wasn't. It just wasn't my cup of tea. Like, I don't think anyone in book club absolutely loved this either. It wasn't for me, and there were a lot of, I guess, like, misogynistic takes in this, which again was meant to highlight the downside of the trans community, but it didn't sit right with me, and I will probably never read it again. I also read The Lovers recently, and I just don't think those like parable short stories are for me. I've tried reading The Alchemist as well, didn't like that either. I think it's just a format that isn't for me. Like, it's too straightforward and there's not a lot of like beautiful language in it or anything either, and I don't really learn anything from it. As far as 5-star reads, I had a good start to the year. In January of 2025, I read We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson, and this book was brilliant. Like, the imagery was perfect. It was the right amount of eerie without being too over the top. I haven't read it in like a year, but I remember really enjoying it. And yeah, it was a quick read. I read it in 2 days. Let me actually do it some justice here. Hang on. Oh, that's right. There's a murder. You know what? I'm just going to read the thing. So, for We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson, living in the Blackwood family home with only her sister Constance and her uncle Julian for company, Mary Cat just wants to preserve their delicate way of life. But ever since Constance was acquitted of murdering the rest of the family, the world isn't leaving the Blackwoods alone. And when cousin Charles arrives, armed with overtures of friendship and a desperate need to get into the safe, Mary Cat must do everything in her power to protect the remaining family. Pretty interesting premise. The other 5-star read I had I think I only had 2 more of them. Yeah, I only had 2 more 5-star reads, and these ones were back to back. I reread Pride and Prejudice. I had not read this since I was in high school, like 10 years ago. It's just so witty. Like, Jane Austen is so witty and just an awesome, like, comical writer. Like, there's so many subtle digs, and she's like that in all of her other books too, from what I can remember, because I've read a few more of her novels as well. But it's just brilliant. great commentary on class and like women's roles. I'll read the blurb for this too. So aristocratic Darcy refuses to dance with Elizabeth Bennet. She instantly dislikes him, despite his reputation as a wealthy and eligible bachelor. Are her first impressions correct? Or is there more to Darcy than meets the eye? Yeah, just a good, easy read. Now we get into the last 5-star read, which was also in January. All 5-star reads were in Jan, which is interesting because I hadn't gone back to uni yet, so maybe I was a bit more optimistic. Sunburn by Chloe Michelle Howarth. I love this book so much. It's set in Ireland. The girls go to a Catholic school. They get a bit gay. I'm really not good at describing books that I like. I don't know. I'm just like, yeah, I love this one. Good job. So I'm going to read the blurb for this too. Oh, coming of age too. Coming of age, gay, Catholic, Irish book. Brilliant. The Sunburn is an astute and tender portrayal of first love, adolescent anxiety, and the realities of growing up in a small town where tradition holds people tightly in its grasp. It's the early 1990s, and in the Irish village of Crossmore, 15-year-old Lucy feels out of place. Despite her fierce friendships, she's always felt this way, and the conventional path of marriage and motherhood doesn't appeal to her at all. Not even with the handsome and doting Martin, her closest childhood friend. Lucy begins to make sense of herself during a long hot summer when a spark with her school friend Susanna escalates to an all-consuming infatuation and very quickly to a desperate and devastating love. I'm going to leave it there. There's more to the blurb, but that's basically the gist of the story. And I'm already feeling the urge to reread this again. I think because it's summer in Australia right now. It's a good, quick summer read. Again, I think it's below 300 pages. Yep, 280 something. It's just devastatingly accurate. If you grew up in a small town or were surrounded by Catholicism, went to a private Catholic school, and were a little bit gay, you will probably enjoy this. There's a lot of parallels between devotion to a partner versus devotion to God and your religion. It's very interesting. I'm pretty sure everyone in book club loved this too. I don't think there was anyone that was like, oh, I hate this. Like, I think it was a winner, pretty much, which is awesome because I suggested it. I don't know if, guys, I suggested this book. I don't know if I mentioned that yet. I suggested this one. All right, on to the TBR for 2026. I have so much on my TBR on Goodreads that I don't even want to scroll through it and pick some stuff. I forgot I went through it and like culled a lot of it. So there's only 80 books on there now, which I'm not going to be able to read all 80 this year. So instead I've picked some books off my shelf that I haven't read yet. So I'm going to start with something that my dad used to read, is the Dragonlance trilogy. I think they have a couple of trilogies. They have a trilogy that's related to like the seasons and stuff. I don't really know the order of these books, to be honest. I kind of just picked these up because my dad was going to give them away and I took them. From what I know, very nerdy, like, you know, elven, mythic, like look at the covers of this. How cool is that? I'm keen to read these and talk to my dad about them. Because yeah, I did read the Darksword trilogy. I think I finished that last year. And it was a similar thing, like my dad was going to give them away and I just picked them up and took them. And they were great. And I got to talk to my dad about something that he used to love. Next on the list are 2 books that I don't think I will ever finish in my life. But they live on my shelf. One of them I have gotten 140 pages into, The Divine Comedy. I found out it's basically just a big burn book. Like, bro's just complaining about everyone he's ever known in his life. But again, awesome imagery, brilliant use of descriptive language, all that fun stuff. But my God, is it long, and my God, he literally just talks shit on everyone he's ever known in his life. And I can't blame him. This is something I like to think I would have written, probably not as well, but that I would have written if I was a snarky bitch, you know, back in time. The other one that I'm probably never going to read is something I bought when I think I was like 16. And someone told me that there's a story in here about a mad woman, and I've always loved stories about mad women, as you can probably see from the books I've been talking about. Ulysses. When did I ever think I would have the brain power to read this? Like, it's something that I would have to devote a lot of time to. And people recommend that you have like a guide with you when you read this. Again, I haven't even picked it up or opened it since I was like 16, so it's probably much easier to read now at 26 than it was 10 years ago. But I don't know why. I guess it was just a big aspirational goal for me at the time. I don't know if I'm going to read it. I don't know why. Like, these two books should probably not be on the TBR because I'm probably not going to read them, but they're there. Maybe if I get really bored and the power goes out, like, what else is there to do? All right, so we have one more classic that I want to read this year, and it is A Tale of Two Cities. I got this for Christmas a couple years ago, back when I read nothing but Charles Dickens for like a period at a time there. I would just run through his books like crazy. I briefly kind of know what I'm in for with this one. I think someone had to read it in high school, but not me. This is going to be awful for me to edit because I'm not saying much. Oh look, we got a little picture. For context, it's very hot today, and I'm getting a bit delirious, I think. The last book, thank God, on my shelf that I haven't read, and I think this is pretty good. Like 7 books that I haven't read, and I have a whole bookshelf. Not bad. There's a much better ratio than it was when I was younger. The last book is The Little Friend by Donna Tartt. I bought this on a holiday, thought I was going to read it on holiday, didn't read it on holiday. Only picked it up last year after owning it for like 5 years, and honestly didn't get that far into it, didn't really like it. I did buy this because I was in a bookshop on holiday and I felt like I wanted to read, but this is the only name that really stood out because I was like, yes, I've read The Secret History. I liked that book. Don't like this one as much. Don't know if I'll ever finish it. I'm also one of those people that's like, if a book has been on my shelf for long enough and I haven't read it, I'm just going to give it away. Someone take it off my hands. I don't want to look at it anymore. Is that mold? Is that mold right there? What is that? Although the Cleaves generally revelled in every detail of their family history, the events of the terrible Mother's Day were never ever discussed. Basically, kid dies on Mother's Day, and everyone's like, who done it? Again, as someone who reads a lot of books, I don't sound very scholarly, and I also have a master's, but it doesn't help. I'm gonna go have some ice cream and try to cool down and stop sweating. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you hopefully next week if the heat doesn't kill me.